നിരവധി രാഷ്ട്രീയ വിഷയങ്ങളിൽ സാംസ്കാരിക ഇടപെടലുകൾ നടത്തുന്ന കവയത്രിയും ആക്ടിവിസ്റ്റുമാണ് മീന കന്ദസ്വാമി. മലയാളികൾക്ക് ഏറെ സുപരിചിതയായ ഇവരാണ് ഈ ആഴ്ചത്തെ വ്യൂ പോയിന്റിൽ നമ്മുടെ അതിഥി. വെൽക്കം മീന.
Hello, thank you.
Let's start with Sri Lankan issue first. Okay, there had been a vast protest along Tamil Nadu, and there was a stand of India in UN Human Rights Council, and there was a resolution, and all the protests dampened. Do you think this is a victory of Tamil people?
Tamil people were not asking for what India did. Tamil people did not say that India should vote for this resolution, because we know from the beginning that this is a very weak resolution. This resolution is actually drafted consulting the Sri Lankan government itself. This resolution pushes the LLRC, which is a very problematic document. It denies the idea of the Tamil homeland, and therefore this resolution, or what India did, is not the demand of the Tamil people. The Tamil people wanted a resolution that talked about the genocide, talked about bringing an international independent investigation, and the Tamil people wanted a resolution that supported the idea of a plebiscite, a referendum for the Tamils of Sri Lanka. So in no way can we say that what India did is going to help the people or make them calm. No. I think if the protests have been dampened, I would never use that word, but the protests are still there. It's also because there's an oppressive state machinery at work. You have closed all the colleges. I think there was 144 in Chennai. So when there's so much of repression, it becomes very difficult to keep the protests at the same level.
Okay, and there was not a single word about genocide in that resolution.
Yes, there was no single word, because as I told you, it's about US and Sri Lanka striking a deal. We don't know whether US is going to get an air base or whether they're going to get a naval base, but certainly US is trying to arm twist Sri Lanka into doing something. So that's how I look at it. They would never use the word genocide, because that will bring not only Sri Lankans, Rajapakse, Mahinda or Basil or anybody, Gotabaya, to the book. It's also going to bring Indians to book, because once you start probing the genocide, it's going to bring out many stories.
There is so many interest for America and China and Russia and India too.
Yes.
You know, this is a diplomatic issue.
Yeah.
How can we incite India to take a hard stand on UNCHR?
See, the first fact I want to say is, I'll start with the minor thing. We think UNHRC, the Human Rights Council of the UN, is the place where we should decide this, but I don't think it should be decided there. We need a higher, stronger forum like the Security Council. And again, we have to talk about this UN itself, because we are not living in the world of the 60s or 70s when we could actually have a revolutionary movement. It was, it's a multipolar world. You have the, pre-Cold War world. There are two powers. We can do something. This is a very unipolar world. This is a world which is totally under the control of imperialist powers. And the imperialist powers are represented by the so-called democratic institution called the UN. So we have to only apply to them. So, and they don't take it to the highest forum of the UN, which is the Security Council, but they want to take it to the lower forum of the UN, which is the Human Rights Council. That's the first issue. And the second thing is, India's diplomacy is not born out of the tradition of Gandhi, or the tradition of non-violence, or the tradition of good and being nice to your neighbors. India's diplomacy is because India has got skeletons in her backyard. India has got gross human rights violations. India has, we have a mass graves in Kashmir where we have about 3,000 young men's bodies. If it happened in Mumbai, if it happened in Calcutta, do you think we can still be India? Because it is Kashmir, because there's a certain politics involved. India doesn't want the world to come there. There is human rights abuse in Manipur, there's human rights abuse in Nagaland, there's human rights abuse in the entire central India. So because of all this, if India takes a stand, India's diplomacy is born not out of any long-term consideration, but to protect its own injustice, to see that all this does not come to light before the world. So we have to understand that India is a failed state, and it's acting in order to protect itself.
Dalit movements are supporting Buddha and Buddhism for their new political movements.
Yeah.
But in Sri Lanka, the Simhalans are Buddhist. That is a contradictory, no?
Okay. So if there is violence happening to Christian people in Orissa, we cannot say that America is good because America is also a Christian nation, right? America is bombing so many countries. So you don't form bonds based just on religion. You form bonds based on oppression. You form bonds based on what is a similar experience and people who suffer with you. So in the case of Orissa, you're with the Christians there, but in the case of America, you're with innocent Afghan children who are dying in the drones. You know, you're with the Iraqis. You're with people whom America is oppressing. So you have to be very clear. You cannot have a blanket support for anything. I'm not even going into the question of what is Sri Lankan Buddhism or the role that the priesthood played or the kind of, you know, religious majoritarianism that is there in Sri Lanka's constitution, because I clearly understand that the Buddhism of Ambedkar, which is Navayana Buddhism, which is the Neo-Buddhism, is entirely different from what the Sri Lankan Buddhism is.
But how can you support LTT? They are not much less than Simplans or Sri Lankan army in human rights violation.
An LTT might have been gruesome, there is no doubt about it, but the scale is something different. And also, for me, I will never keep, let us say, any revolutionary movement, whether it's an Naxalite or the LTT or anybody, on the same scale with a democratically elected government and the army of the democratically elected government.
State terrorism.
Yeah, you do not expect the state to behave as a terrorist. So, and I also believe that many of the criticisms against the LTT were actually taken up and addressed during the SLM and the Sri Lankan monitoring mission. So you had people from the UN coming, they tried to, I mean, there were about 182 child soldiers or something, they were trying to see that they were all back. So all these issues were being, you know, addressed in a systematic manner, but then the peace process broke off. And then there was, you know, the ceasefire broke off. So we have to understand that these were things that were also being addressed. Not that, see, I don't think I can give a blank check to anybody. I'm not in a position
to do that. And in the matter of state terrorism, you are in the line of Arundhati Roy, right?
It's not a line that only Arundhati takes. I think a lot of people will only take that line because we have to understand that India killing Afzal Guru, for instance, we see so many instances in which the state behaves like a terrorist, and we have to oppose them because they have got a mandate. At least they claim to have a mandate, they claim to represent us, and they can't behave like this, and they can't get away with behaving like this.
And Beef Festival in Hyderabad conducted last year.
Yeah.
And what was your role in that festival?
I was in Nalsar, which is a law university in Hyderabad. So I had gone there to give the Ambedkar Memorial Address, and I was speaking to students about the Hindu Code Bill and what was the role of Ambedkar in generally within the feminist question. How did he look at land rights? How did he look at, you know, monogamy? How did he bring in divorce laws? So what did he actually do to the religion of Hinduism with, you know, all his lawmaking? So I just spoke about this, and the next day my friends were saying, you know, there's a beef festival on. So I said, okay, let's go. And so, you know, everybody was there. There was, you know, Aila's name was there. I met Gogu Shyamala there. And when I went, the festival was in a nice mood. So, of course, I stood in line. It was a long line. I got a plate of beef biryani and I was eating. And we know that the campus was very tense because there were police vehicles. There were a lot of Hindutva guys on the roads. The campus was cordoned off. And it was like, eventually they started throwing stones. Then the police had to do a lathi charge. The police and they burnt an OB van, I think of Gemini TV. They burnt this was the Hindutva groups, and it became like so bad that all of us had to be packed, and I was packed into a police van and, you know, sent away. And once I got back, I got to my friend's room and I flew, and in a hostel room I actually tweeted about it. I said, I just, you know, was in a police van, they were throwing stones on it, I had to be escorted out, and this festival was an awesome experience because we were hearing the beef anthem. It was very nice, it was joyous, but also the kind of, you know, stone throw, lathi charge, water cannon, smoke gun, all this was, you know, very new and fresh for me. So I just wrote about it, and then the controversy followed. So I didn't play any role.
There was an argument that you won't be support a pork festival, it will be conducted anywhere in India, because the pork is prohibited to Muslims, so, and you are only protesting against Hindu people also.
Oh, okay. No, this, I often get this. I mean, actually when I did this beef festival, they said she's Akbaruddin Owaisi's girlfriend. So, I mean, I hear such shit about me that, you know, don't even met this person, so I don't know what to do. But will I support a pork festival? Please go ahead and organize a festival. But Do you think there should be beef and pork on the menu? Yes, you should have beef and pork on the menu. I have no doubts about it. But there is a basic difference between pork and beef. When somebody eats pork, the Muslims do not say, okay, that person is an untouchable. The Muslims do not form an idea of untouchability surrounding to pork. And nobody is saying, okay, this pig is my mother. I've not heard anybody of any religion say the pig is my mother. But here you say the cow is your mother, and therefore killing the cow is like killing your mother. So you don't get into this entire argument. So to conflate beef with pork is something that, you know, is technically, and you know, as on an argument level, it's not even valid. Much as I believe that anybody should have the right to eat the food they want to eat, you have to understand that they are not the same issues here.